Alright, incoming wall of text that will take me like 3 hours to go through. Let's get a quick sip. Ah, good stuff. 2.1 patch notes. Now that is for Friday, 2 days from now. Almost exactly 2 days from now. Due to substantial balance changes, every existing character has been granted an optional full passive reset. So we all get passive resets on standard characters. That's great for testing purposes. Support for Brazilian Portuguese. We've launched in Brazil. Path of Exile is now optionally available in Brazilian Portuguese. It doesn't really affect the most of us. You guys can read that if you need to. Talisman Challenge Leagues. New league, all your old characters' items are still present standard, etc. I'll skim over a lot of things that I don't think actually need commentary on. 2.1, yep. Both the standard and hardcore challenge leagues are variations of the Talisman Challenge League. They have the same core mechanics, but slightly different items available. So it doesn't really matter which one you play, you're going to get a similar experience now. They're not different league mods like they have been in the past. In the Talisman Challenge Leagues, monsters have been possessed by Ancient. So I've already talked about this before. Yeah, this is basically just going to be the possessed by talismans. You kill them, you get the talisman, you stack up talismans, you then go in and find Rigvald and try and kill him depending on the tier of talisman you have and the eye level and whatever. Let's check out the rest. 12 new unique items that can be found in the Talisman Leagues, including 4 that only drop from Rigvald himself. That's awfully Atziri-like. 32 new challenges. Yawn, I'll let you guys deal with that yourselves as you please. Added a new armor set, Gore armor set. Oh god, what is that going to be? I don't know. Ghost Flame armor set. I'm actually kind of a fan of this one. Like, I don't know. I think that's going to look pretty cool on a smaller character, like your Shadow, your Scion. So I'll probably be testing this. I think that's a Marauder, by the looks of it. He's kind of chunky. I'll probably grab that. I like this whole green, neonish sort of shit. It's a bit over the top, bit novelty, but I think I'll get it. And then they're adding Ghost Flame Herald of Ash, which I think looks pretty cool as well. If it's cheap, I'll grab that too. For Herald of Ash characters. I find myself pretty rarely using Herald of Ash though. Ziggurat Totem Skin. That could be nifty. Parasite Pet. I don't think I care about whatever this is. Nah, if it was a head crab, I'd be all in, but it's not a head crab, so whatever. Vanishing Dye prevents an armor piece from being displayed. Well, looks like we are officially Diablo 3, and you can now have Vanishing Dye, which makes you naked. And I'm sure people will take advantage of that in certain situations. New armor set, Rigvald armor set. Talisman Challenge Leagues, so that's just the one you get as free MTX. Cool. Did I miss anything? Why am I being linked to Reynad? What does Reynad have to do with me right now? Added a new dexterity. Okay, so Shrapnel Shot, Blast Rain, and Siege Ballista. We've gone over those. Blade Vortex, Blade Fall. I'll probably be starting with Blade Vortex on the new league. I'll grab Blade Fall as soon as I can and see how that feels. If the build feels like it needs to evolve into a Blade Fall build, because it's better, I'll do that. I'm not fully committed to anything at the moment. And then you got your new Chaos skills, which I'll definitely be trying at some point as well. It's a picture of a penis. Well, you're a dick. In any case. New support gems. Yeah, so some of these may help to curb some of the nerfs. Certain skills. We'll see. So like Incinerate's taking a nerf, but you know, controlled destruction might bring it up to pretty good levels still. Who knows? Threshold Joes, we'll check those out when we actually can, but I'm not particularly interested in them at the moment. I don't know, they just don't excite me too much. Having to get put them in a certain place on your tree, pretty much go out of your way just to get it, and then it might give a certain skill just a slight buff. I don't know. Doesn't excite me terribly much. Added 3 unique belts. Belts are always pretty cool. 5 new unique talismans. You can get unique talismans, eh? Pretty cool then. That might be awesome. Add a new unique ring. Rigvold's crest. Yeah, so Rigvold drops a ring, a sword, an axe, and a quiver. Oh man, a quiver? That's so niche. Axe, sword, it's only a ring. Is really going to be universal, and even then, it's probably going to be like an attack-based ring, since Rigvold and everything else is attack-based. Yeah, so that's weird. And then other new unique items. 2 unique amulets. Cool, more amulets. Unique claw. Is that the one we already saw, or is that something else? Who knows? Added 2 new unique staffs. Agnerod West, which means that's going to be all the Agnerods. So if there's some kind of strange combo that you can make a new staff out of, could be a thing. Femurs of the Saints. Femurs of the Saints. Is that the summoning shit? Whatever. New unique axe. 3 unique flasks. One of those is the Quicksilver one, I believe. Unique shield. Boots Skyforth. I think I saw a little bit about those. Supposed to be intended for low life, something like that. Pretty strange looking boots from what I saw. New unique bow. Cool. 2 new unique wands. That'll be interesting. Wands can either be really good or completely useless. Scepter, glove, swords, maps. 3 new unique maps. That's cool. 2 new unique maps. The Vinctar Square and Sarah Blade and Wolfpack's Den. Alright, whatever. Cards. What can we get? A 6-link Coronal Maul. That's probably not affecting me ever. Death's Hand. That's fairly useful. Corrupted unique wand. Ooh. Void battery. You know, potentially a void battery. A Shavs. That's dope. T15 map. That's pretty nice. Ring of Mammoth. Dunno. Fertile Mind. Completely useless. Unique body armor. That could be nice. Depending how rare these things are. Don't know. Unique gold ring. Is there more than an Invarius as far as gold rings go? Am I just blanking on what else there is? Spacing out, I mean. And a 6-link Var Regalius, that's pretty useful. 3 new Rogue Exiles. Cool. New features, 2 pets at once. Yay. Yeah, whatever. You can now type reset XP in chat to reset the experience per hour estimation tool. It means you don't have to, like, close your game anymore to reset your XP count. That's pretty nice, I guess. Performance improvements to ground effects. Oh my god. This better be everything it needs to be. The love of God. Ventors? Oh, so Ventors are an Advaris. That's sick then. That's your only 2 options, right? Yeah, that's awesome. Characters now get 6 mana per level instead of 4. That's pretty huge. So that means that our attack-based builds will have a lot more mana pool to actually leech off of. Which makes mana leech just a little bit better. Which means elemental leech builds might actually be able to sustain mana on faster attacks. Who knows? Point Blank got buffed. That doesn't really affect me too much. Feels pretty niche. Changed the way that bonuses from non-flask items, notably several unique belts applied while drinking a flask work. That, yeah, whatever. Spells that reduce movement speed now do so with a new debuff called Hinder. can only have one hinder effect on you at once, so multiple movement slowing spells will not stack. It's currently used on Abyssal Cry and the new Wither skill. Oh. Okay. Fair enough. Rather than dealing damage at the highest hit, as Ignite does, Poison can now have multiple stacks. This means that every hit counts, rather than just the occasional big hit. Oh, that's cool. This also lets it scale much better towards endgame and differentiates it from other damage over time effects. Yeah, man, Poison could be pretty damn nutty if you could just stack it like balls. Like, wow. Could be crazy. I'm thinking Viper Strike might actually be a really solid single target these days, if you spec just a bit into it. Poison can now only be applied by chaos and physical damage. Okay, this for both thematic reasons and to have it act as a reward for builds that have less of a focus on auras and elemental supports with damage boosts. These poison changes are also reflected in monsters. Ooh, scary. Hey Snow, what's up? I don't know. Cannot confirm or deny. Surgeon Flask got wrecked. They'll probably still be fine for any like super crit builds like Cast on Crit Cyclone, I dare say. But for a lot of other builds, they're probably going to be fairly useless. The required and drop level of resistance and item find rings has changed from level 12. Sapphire rings appear from level 8. Nice. Topaz from 12, Ruby from 16, and Gold from 20. Yeah, that's an alright change, I suppose. Early game bows have had their levels and damage changed. Damage of crude bows has been increased by roughly the damage of a quiver. Short bows, damage of a quiver. Long bows, also basically a quiver. Not even. That's hardly changed at all. What do they expect this to accomplish, honestly? 2 top end damage? Okay. 1 bottom end damage has been increased there. Wow. Incoming bow leveling godlikeness from low level for that 1 lower level there, eh? Wait, what? They got nerfed? Recurve bows have been reduced from 20 to 18, and then they nerfed them by a damage or 2. Bone bows are usually actually pretty good to level with as far as their stats go, and it's been reduced. I don't understand. Blood Dance now only give 0.5% blood life regen per frenzy. Wow. That's a pretty hefty nerf. They'll still perform, you know, a similar sort of task to what they do now, but that is substantially less desirable now, at least for me. For a spellcaster build with EB, you used to get 4% life regen, now you're only going to get 2%. And I don't know if that's worth it anymore for an entire boot slot. It might be, but God, I don't know. That does make them an actual discussion rather than a no-brainer. Yeah, but no, as far as the bow changes go, I don't like that's not going to change shit, I don't think, for early game bow leveling. Maybe just the crude bow. So your first like 5 to 10 levels might feel better, but the rest of it, no, it's going to feel pretty bad still. Chill of Corruption now has 50% chance to gain additional Val per instead of 80. I'm not sure that's going to really nerf Valspark builds too badly. So, probably a meaningless change. Introduce new Nihilist prefix mod that grants +1 level to Chaos Gems. Okay. That's pretty neat. Means you can get, you can't get +3 ones or anything. +2 is the best level you can get now. Yeah, okay. Nifty. And spirit shoots too. Cool. Map balance changes. Errors created by file fragments in map devices are now 2 levels higher. Cool. Terrace and mine maps now generate with better pathing and more consistent layouts. Ah, oh, thank Christ. I might actually not want to kill myself running that map now. Volcano has been updated to be better for more monsters and more open. Thank God as well. It's very necessary. Salazang no longer performs its machine gun ethereal knife skill. That's the terrace map boss. As it was unfair to players. Gee, you don't say. Salazang instead spawns more devourers. He's much easier, but still entertaining to encounter. Underplayed, and this is one of the factors. Yeah, no shit. They've had this boss in the game for like a year, or 2 years or something. And it's just been one-shotting characters at 4k to 5k life, which there's almost nothing you could do about it. So that's a really good change. It's amazing it lasted that long, to be perfectly honest. How stupid the boss was. Shock and Horror now has her totems die when she dies. Alright, that's a nice little quality of life. Spawn no longer create lightning storms when they die. Huh. Yeah. Don't know if that needed to change. Totems disappearing. Yeah, it's just a slight quality of life. The rare resistance aura mods will no longer occur on monsters before level 40. Oh, that's pretty good. Rather annoying counting resists at low levels of damage. A short instance-wide cooldown has been added to many monster skills. Monsters with bursty skills have had this cooldown applied to reduce player deaths from fast, hard to predict damage. This includes skills such as Leap Slam, Flicker Strike, Shield Charge, Lightning Warp, and Arctic Breath. Most of these affected skills are appropriate as initiation skills, but are not ideal when many monsters perform them simultaneously. That's a pretty big change. If it works the way it reads, it means you're not going to die like to just random, not even random, just large packs of goats or Arctic Breath. What do you, frogs, Flicker Bros. Yeah, like that's potentially huge. Gives you more time to actually react to all of that, which for me is amazing. Because I live off of avoidance, basically. After fixing a bug that causes a bleed from Inziri's puncture skill to do negligible damage, you should expect to take more bleed damage from her spear puncture attacks. Yeah, that's not very welcome. It now deals around 12 times more damage when not moving and 2.5 as much damage when moving. 12 times more damage when not moving? Wow, so they actually made it, yeah. As a mechanic, you have to cleanse bleed, basically. Whereas before, yeah, it was pretty negligible, I'll agree with that. But that makes it a bit tougher to do it, Siri, definitely. It makes Surgeon's Flasks all the more valuable. So, there you go. Get those Surgeon's Flasks going still, for bleed at the very least. Or just avoid the spears altogether. You can still do that with extreme amounts of difficulty. Choak Grove, the unique Vakali totem from Comb's Dream, has had a variety of bug fixes and reductions to damage in order to reduce his unreasonable lethality. So that's a stack of totems you come across while running through the Comb Zone. It was absolute bullshit and it's been changed, so good on him. That was a welcome change. Nightwane, the unique Vol's Vanguard monster in the Dried Lake, and Mirage of Bones have had their life halved. Oh my god, thank god. Visual changes have been made to make them and their clones larger so they stand out from normal monsters in the areas. AI changes have been made to Mirage of Bones to make him less clone spammy. You should be able to identify him better by the fact he moves more frequently. That's pretty welcome changes. Guy was very tanky, even in Dried Lake. And yeah, that actually might make me run the map more. For, what was it, Pit? Or whatever it is. don't know. Not a pit? No, that's not right. I don't know. Whatever the map is with Mirage of Bones. Yeah, that's a pretty good change there. Cal Foxfly, unique shadow archer in the riverways, has had his damage reduced. I don't think it was particularly overpowered, but okay. His cruel and merciless lightning arrow attacks have been further reduced in damage. I don't know how necessary that was. I was never really in threat of dying to him. Not in the same way that I could die to Nightwane, or the totems, or that Rakango. Those are the really overpowered mobs. Valfallen, Colossus Valfallen. Monsters no longer always get critical strikes. Did they always get critical strikes? Holy shit. But we now always inflict status ailments. The damage has been increased to compensate. I had no idea they always crit. Wow. Well, fuck me. That's fair enough though. Monsters that use the Summon Raging Spirit skill now have their own dedicated version so that it can be balanced separately. That's good. There have been various rebalances, but in general it's been made stronger at high levels. Ooh. Fair enough. Rakango monsters now appear in maps less frequently, guess. And volcanic golems can now appear in maps. Cool. Yeah, so that's some pretty good stuff there. Everything basically in the right direction, I think. Good news all across the board there. Master balance changes. Zana's limited portal missions have been changed. Upon speaking to Zana, the quest tracker on the right says don't die or leave Zana's map. Oh. This reminder will stay with you inside the map. Zana will now open one portal per player in the area or per player in your party. Whichever is greater. If you leave Zana's map, you cannot re-enter it even if there are portals up. Oh man. If you die or leave Zana's map, you fail the mission. Okay. I mean, that's doesn't really change anything if it's just those missions that gave you one portal anyway. So yeah. Entering map sub-areas doesn't count as leaving the mission. Fair enough. The Warband Zana mod is now available at Zana, level 7, and costs 12 Chaos Orbs. I wonder what that does. If that spawns like a boss, and like, every time you use Warbands, that might be pretty cool. Might be pretty cool. 12 Chaos though, I don't know if it's ever going to be worth spawning a bunch of Warbands for 12 Chaos. I suppose if you're committed to farming the Warband specific items, maybe. It'd be alright just for some fun, I think. Yeah, maybe. Where was it again? No longer always get critical strikes, but we now always. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Whatever. Skill damage effectiveness changes. Various skills have had the damage effectiveness values increase. This is a ratio of how much they're affected by support gems. These skills are Shock Nova from 50 to 60. It's not much of a change. Lightning Warp, not much of a change. Fine Overmind, it's a pretty big change. Yeah, an extra like 50%. But who cares about Fine Overmind? Magma Orb, that's huge, from 80 to 125. And Shock Nova, slight buff as well. Any real substantial one there is Magma Orb. Might make it good. Means it's going to get a lot more damage from something like Anger. So, maybe Magma Orb will actually have enough damage to be worth it these days. Spell skill balance changes. Many spells have had their base damage increased at higher levels to bring their power in line with attacks and to reward the risks of spell casting. Of which there are many. Risks, that is. The following spells have had their damage increased by around 20% higher at level 20. Wow. Arc, Ball Lightning, EK, Fire Trap, Firestorm, Flame Surge, Flame Blast, Freezing Pulse, Cascade, Tendrils, Lightning Warp, Magma Orb, and Storm Call. 20%! My god. That's gonna make cast on crit pretty goddamn beefy. So yeah, Something like Arc and Ball Lightning getting another 20%, not sure that was necessary. EK getting another 20%, not sure that was necessary. Like, that's pretty substantial buffs there. Like, the problem with those skills for the most part was your survivability in endgame maps, not how much damage you were dealing. So yeah, that's, I don't know. Yeah, like my cast on crit cyclone character used Arc. It used Flame Surge, and I think Ice Nova as well, which I believe has been increased as well. 35%, yeah. So my cast on crit cyclone has gained a 35% damage buff on Ice Nova, 20% on Arc, and 20% on Flame Surge, which, what, comes out to like 26% damage overall, something crazy. Just straight up buff. That's huge. In addition to having more damage, Arc now increases in number of chains more often as it levels up. At level 20 it chains 7 times, previously this was 5. That's also pretty huge. Yeah man, cast on crit build's still going to be god tier, I think. EK, in addition to its damage buff, now gains 1% projectile speed, so an extra 20% projectile speed at level 20. Good. Same with Freezing Pulse, that's pretty good as well. Magma Orb gains an additional chain at level 10 and another at level 21. Ooh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that could be really nice. Magma Orb totally might be worth using these days. Especially in cast on crit builds. It's pretty nuts. Fine Overmind, Yawn. It's just, I don't know, for me, Fine Overmind, it doesn't matter what damage you give it, just mechanically it feels awful to use, so I probably won't ever use something like that. Flame Surge damage has been increased by around 20% at all levels. Did they just mention that up here? Alright, regardless. Flame Totem cast speed is reduced from 200 ms to 250. Okay, Flame Totem has a 25% less damage at level 1. Doesn't really matter, it's still going to be strong at level 1, I think. Up to 24% more damage at level 20. Jesus! You think that's going to change anything? It's still going to be a useful leveling skill, and it's just going to be that much better at a high level. When combined with cast speed changes, this now deals 40% less damage at level 1, up to 0% at level 21. There's more damage at level 22s and beyond. Levels 22 and beyond. So I reckon that the cast speed nerf there gets balanced out by the damage buff at level 20. Alright, fair enough. If you think it's not going to change the damage, then that's okay, I suppose. Ice Nova damage has been increased by 20% up to, at level 1, up to 35% at level 20. That's pretty huge. That's pretty damn huge. Ice Nova might be nice to level with. Just as a skill. It used to be, but then the damage kind of like scaled off as you started leveling up. It dropped as a leveling skill, more or less. Searing Bond damage increased by 10% and an additional totem without drawbacks. That's pretty big. I don't know. One of the strengths of Searing Bond used to be that you could use it with a Searing Touch early on and it would be insane. You can't do that anymore. So, it's not going to be quite as insane as it used to be. Just based off of that, but you could probably do some good leveling with it. Nowadays, I would imagine. Alright, the long-awaited Incinerate nerf. No longer affected by Spell Echo as was intended in 2.0. But I mean, look on the bright side, it frees up a gem slot. For a worse gem, but still a gem slot. Incinerate now only adds 50% more damage at each stage, down from 100% more damage. That's pretty rough! And Incinerate damage has been increased by 15% at level 1, reduced by approximately 8% at level 20. I mean, yeah, that hurts, but I don't think that's going to break Incinerate. Personally, I think that Incinerate, especially at good gear levels, is still going to do quite a lot of damage and be a very strong skill. based off of that. What happens there? We lose Spell Echo. And that is a shitload of cast speed we're losing. Already using a faster casting. Like, that's still an insane amount of damage. But the stacks not going that high anymore will make it a bit harder. For my build specifically here, I could get rid of Spell Echo, sub it in for Life Leech, lose a bunch of damage, but make myself infinitely tankier. So I could actually stand still and kill things a lot longer than previously. Regardless of that, there's the other damage gem that's coming in, which is just going to give you pure damage to replace that with if you want it. I don't know, I'm reserving judgment until we try it out. I think Incinerate can still be really strong, because it's just mechanically a very strong skill. You stand still and do like all of your damage very consistently. You leech a lot based off of the amount of damage you do, and you can build fairly defensively. Might not be as strong as it currently is, but I don't think that's going to kill it. That's my opinion. So wait till you try it out, guys. Don't grind nerfs just yet. Early boss sort, we'll talk about that when we get there. Shockwave totem damage has been increased by 20% at level 1, up to an increase of 10% by level 20. That's pretty cool. Shockwave is already fairly nice to level with, I found. Shock Nova increased by 20% at level 1, up to 35% at level 20. That's pretty huge. I remember playing a Shock Nova character and I had good damage. My damage was actually really good at max level. It's just that I was a bit squishy. So that's nice. As well as that, cast on crit, pretty damn nice. Smart damage has been increased in damage by 10% and starts at 4 projectiles, increasing by an additional 1 at levels 9, 17, and 25. That's pretty nutty. Is it going to make Spark viable again? Probably more for a self-cast option. I don't know if I like it that much for cast on crit still, but it definitely puts it into the equation, and I'm going to have to play around with it in cast on crit builds. Yeah, like it might be really good for cast on crit spectral throw, for example. Throwing out your spectrals and just sparking all over the screen, and I'm already using GMP there as well, so that's even more projectiles. Yeah, could actually be nice. Level 25 is pretty far away though. Only certain builds will be using that. Skills which detonate corpses, such as Detonate Dead, Abyssal Cry, and Infernal Blow, have had their radius increased by 22%. It's pretty good news. I've always felt Infernal Blow was a bit small. Might have to try that one out at some point. Righteous Fire's radius increased by 60%. That's pretty huge for the RF characters. They will be very happy with that one. Stormcall increased by 25 and GC increased by 25. That's also pretty big, both of these. You could already scale Stormcall to be really big with the right passive tree and items. Another 25%, like that's going to... Like, beforehand, I could cover a Stormcall maybe like this big. I could now pretty much do a full screen Stormcall with the right effects. That's huge. Minion skill balance changes. Dominating below mana cost has been reduced substantially. I'm sure that's a welcome change. Attack now deals 125% at base, increasing to 155 at level 20. Don't know if that's good. Minions created now deal 35% less damage at all levels. I've never been a fan of Dominating Blow, just laggy. Usually slow for me. But for you guys who do love that shit, that's pretty decent news, I think. Mana cost reduced. Anyway, zombies now attack faster. They also have an area effect slam skill and 30% greater stun threshold. Sounds like a good zombie buff, so yeah, congrats summoners, enjoy your zombies. Summon Raging Spirit's duration has been increased from 3.5 seconds to 5 seconds. Wow. Mana cost has been reduced from 6 to 5 at level 1, reduced from 15 to 12 at level 2. Cast speed has been reduced to 500 ms from 800 ms. Well, the damage dealt by Raging Spirits has been substantially reworked and is lower at higher levels. Raging Spirits are now more likely to target enemies who are attacked by fewer Raging Spirits, except when enemies are close to the caster. Yeah, so who knows what that really means. Sounds to me like Raging Spirits are still going to be very viable. Whether it's going to be stronger or weaker, I don't know. It might just make the characters easier to build, especially at the lower levels. I'll likely try SRS for the first time ever at some point of this league. Just because, yeah, it'd be nice to try out changes and see what the skill's all about, really. And reduction in mana costs is always nice, basically. Penalties to the life and energy share to summon specters have been halved at all levels. The penalties, okay. So there it is. Melee attack skill balance change. How much more do we have? Yeah, not too much. Alright. We're looking at melee. Attack skills that have their damage based on the wielded weapon have their mana costs fixed in place from level 1 onwards. Sweet. Increasing the level of the gem does not increase the mana cost of the skill. Sweet. Dominating blow still increases in mana cost as the mana is also paying for the minions. Righto. Don't care about that, but attack skills. Yes, you can now level attack skills without getting more mana cost. Like, that's gonna just feel nice to level with now, instead of slowly raping your mana further and further. So that's good news. And if you have Elrion jewelry and you can cover the cost of your skill at level 1, you're covering the cost of the skill at level 20. The only thing that changes is your links. 5 link, 6 link, that sort of thing might cost too much for your Orion shit, so that is great news. Are we happy? Who's happy? No one's happy? What's wrong with you people? Anyway, Cleave now gains increased area of effect radius of 1% for each level after the first. 20% increased area for Cleave at level 20. Is that going to do anything to, like, make it competitive with Reeve? I doubt it. I really do doubt it. But we'll see. Might be worth playing. Hopefully it is. Fuck. I would like to play some Cleave. The problem with Cleave is that Reeve exists, so Cleave just has no point to exist. You're mad because you're still not mod. Wrecked. There was a display bug that caused Cyclone to show the wrong DPS value and attack speed. We have fixed this bug, so you now notice the visual DPS almost double. That's just the tooltip, yeah? And the attack speed on the gem shoot up a lot. Okay, in addition we've reduced the damage of Cyclone by around 10% and have reduced the damage of its initial hit. So, it's really not a big deal. Like, reducing damage by 10%, that's, honest to God, changing nothing with Cyclone. That's still going to be perfectly huge and probably the best melee skill ever. Reduced damage of its initial hit will probably only affect the two-hand like axe builds that go around one-shotting everything as they're just spinning through packs. Even so, I imagine if you have an overkill of damage, you're probably going to still one-shot everything from the initial hit. I think Cyclone's still going to be god tier. And it's not changing at all for cast on crit, so it's still god tier there. Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. Nerf is not that substantial at all, as far as I can tell. Frost Blades has been improved from 2 additional projectiles at all levels to 4 at level 1 and 7 at level 20. Fuck. It has also been increased from plus 14 weapon rage to 18 at level 1 and 21 at level 20. These are the changes I said this thing needs. It now gains 1% projectile speed per level after the first, 19% at level 20. Its base projectile speed has been increased by 25%. Jesus Christ. The only issue with Frostblades now is the fact that you actually have to target something for it to attack, but that's less of a problem now that you have a much larger range to attack from. Based off of this, Frostblades, I think is going to be pretty nuts. Yeah. Like, dude, 7 additional projectiles at level 20. It's going to be a clear speed monster. Yeah, that's pretty nuts, I think. Chain Frostblades, like, yeah, that's gonna be just obliterate packs. Chain Frostblades. You probably don't even need Chain with 7 additional projectiles, you just go Fork. You might not even need Fork, just go faster attacks with 7 additional projectiles. Like, I've messed around with Frostblades before to have, I don't think I've kept a Frostblades, but, you know, messed around with Frostblades before just to have GMP for extra projectiles, for example. And that felt okay. So if you just like don't even use chain or any damage reducing skills and use something like faster attacks instead, I think that could still be nuts. Frostblades actually has now entered the discussion as a skill. That's pretty good news. Cast on crit, as someone just asked. No, I don't think so. I think mechanically it's still going to be weaker than something like Spectral Throw. So if you're going to use cast on crit with a dagger and a more ranged ability, I think you're going to go with Spectral Throw, maybe even Lightning Strike, but probably Spectral Throw, because Spectral Throw goes through it once, it pierces everything, and then it comes back a second time, so for cast on crit you'll get a lot more procs out of that, and on top of that it'll be much better for single target. Frostblade's cast on crit single target will be pretty weak, nothing too special there at all. It just might be a good actual attack-based skill now. That's how I feel anyway. Ground Slam now gains increased area effect radius of 1% for each level after the first. I don't think that's going to really make it too competitive with Ice Crash. But shit, you know, might be fine. If you want to play Ground Slam, I mean, yeah, slight buff. Doesn't make me want to touch Ground Slam. Lightning Strike has been substantially reworked. It is now a Dexterity Gem. I think that's good news. It starts at player level 12. It shoots 5 projectiles at level 1, increasing as it levels. So it doesn't say how many projectiles it does later on, though. Its damage has been increased. It went from dealing 70% of base to 75% of base. And the damage buff isn't huge, but I always felt like it did shoot a bit too few projectiles. 5 at level 1 is pretty huge. I think that might be a very nice leveling skill now. And increasing as it levels, what does that mean? Is it going to give us more projectiles as we level? Is it going to go up to 15? I don't know. But Lightning Strike, yeah, I think that I'll definitely be able to try that out. I usually stay away from Lightning Strike because it never feels too good with the amount of projectiles you have. So you always had to attach LMP or GMP. It's a bit of a waste of a slot because it increases your mana cost a lot and reduces your damage. So I never really liked Lightning Strike. Anyway, Spectral Throw has also had its damage increased. That's good news. Went from dealing 38% of base damage to 45% at level 1. Yeah, not huge, but hey. It's like, what, almost a 20% buff or so? Level 20, it went from dealing 64 to 75. That'll bring it back up to pretty viable status, I think. Like, it's not bad right now, you just need a lot of gear to make it work. That just basically lowers the gear requirement by, you know, that little bit. So yeah, 75%, that's a pretty good buff. I think Spectral Throw will be plenty viable. Thing is, we're going to have to see if it's going to compare to Frostblades, or if Frostblades compares to Spectral Throw. But one of those two is definitely going to work. Maybe even lightning strike. That's good news for all three of those skills, to be perfectly honest. That's fucking nice. Nice work, guys. Hey, Granny. Wild Strike, snooze, has been increased by a flat 10% at all levels. Now grants 2 additional projectiles at all levels. The radius of the Wild Strike explosion has been increased by 9%. Slight buff, kind of the right direction. I don't feel like it's going to make it usable for me. The problem with it is you have to hit something to activate it. It's a dangerous skill because you have to go balls deep. And it just didn't do enough explosion to cover that cost. I don't know if that's gonna be enough still. It might be, but don't think. Yeah, I don't think that's going to bridge the gap too much between that and Cyclone, for example. Cyclone mechanically just so much stronger still. Vial Grand Slam now requires 50% more cells per use and can only store 3 uses. The area effect radius bonus has been reduced from 30 to 20%. That's okay. I always felt like Vial Grand Slam was kind of a skill just to pop for boxes or large packs rather than a full clear speed build. I think it's just kind of been pushed in the direction of a big hit every now and again, which is okay, I think. Sweeps radius been reduced by 8%. Not sure that was necessary, but okay, I'll live with that. Viperstrike now applies poison on hit and has a 100% chance to do so. Huge. Viperstrike now has 25% of physical damage converted to chaos instead of 10% of physical added as chaos. Is it 10% right now? My god, that's bullshit. Poisons applied by Viperstrike have a base duration of 8 seconds. Up from 7, okay. The base damage of Viperstrike has been increased from 100 to 130. And from 122 to 160% base damage at level 20. With 100% chance to poison, 25% of physical damage converted to chaos, and all of the new things, like nodes, like something like that, if you're starting there as well, I think that's going to be a just beastly single target skill now. You will be slaying at series left, right, and center with something like that. That's nuts. Viperstrike, man, they're really pushing for Viperstrike to actually exist. It'll only be good for heavy bosses, like you're at series, for example. You'll be able to do lots of damage over time there. So yeah, it won't be great for clear speed, probably. It's still a very large amount of damage at the base level there. So melee splash that, and you're probably going to be running around one-shotting things with your melee splash, regardless of poison. Yeah, that's nuts, I think. Single target, that's going to be huge. That's going to be huge. Strike got a chance overall? Probably not, man. Probably not. It'll be viable, you can use it, but it's going to be overshadowed by stronger skills like Reeve and Cyclone still. Or, like, the ones that are getting buffed here, Frostblades and Lightning Strike. You'll probably be able to use Wild Strike, but ultimately you'll be gimping yourself still. That's my opinion. Alright, Projectile, so bow shit. Bow and mirror arrow clones now show as the player they are impersonating on the minimap. It's useful, I suppose. Burning arrows base damage has been increased from 130 to 150 and 160 to 180 at level 20. Holy shit, we almost hit 200% damage on a skill. Does that make it worth using as a single target? Potentially, eh? 180% is pretty huge. I don't know if I can get over the fact that Frenzy is so good for quality of life to stack your Frenzy charges. I don't know about that. Frenzy might still be my go-to at all times. Tornado Shot's base damage increased by a flat 10% all levels. That's unnecessary and amazing. So, okay, thanks for the buff to Tornado Shot. It's going to be even stronger than it currently is, which is pretty strong. Ice Shot's shield ground duration is now 1.5 at all levels. Whatever. Number of additional arrows its split arrow grants at level 20 has been reduced from 8 to 6. It still starts at 4. Level 1, the levels in between interpolated. Wow. Wow. I think Tornado Shot is based god now. Well, you tried Split Arrow for a while. Barrage damage has been increased from 40% to 50% of base damage at level 1. 20% buff, not bad. 25% I mean. At level 20, it now has been increased from dealing 47 to 61. I might have to try Barrage out, because I've never been a fan of it. It always felt like a wet noodle. Maybe this will make it feel better. Yelling about things? That's okay. Lightning Arrow's base damage has been increased by a flat 10% at all levels. It really didn't need that. And has been reduced from 8 to 7 in mana cost. Lightning Arrow has always been really strong, or at least currently really strong, when attacking large packs of monsters, so that didn't need to change at all. And 10% damage gain isn't going to make it any better for single target. So I don't know why that's being buffed either. That just makes it even more insane for clearing large packs. Pretty crazy. Poison Arrow has been renamed to Caustic Arrow as part of the poison changes. The damage of this skill has been increased by around 37% at level 1. Okay, cool, but reduced by around 42% by level 20. Huh. This reduction is more than compensated for by supporting the skill with the new supports. Probably true. Caustic Arrow's mana costs have been increased from 5 to 8. Ah, that's uncomfortable. From 13 to 16 at level 20. I'm sure it's still perfectly viable. It just means that you can't invest in all of the life and defense on the tree and just get damaged through means of gem level, basically. You have to use chaos damage nodes and whatnot. And, I mean poison, whatever. And actually using gem supports and stuff. I think that'll still be fun. If you want to play Poison Arrow, you can. I might even try it out myself. I guess, like, part of the reason I always shied away from things like Poison Arrow and Explosive Arrow is because you could build so hugely defensive that it's just boring. That's really what it is. I want to be able to get offensive shit from my passive tree and feel the benefits of it. So I might try that out at some point. Power Siphon has had its base damage increased by a flat 5% at all levels. Step aside, KB. Power Siphon's back in business with its 5% buff. Are they serious with that? Basically, Power Siphon gets completely shit on by KB right now for AoE clear. 5%. I mean, that kind of bridges the gap. To still get completely shit on. I mean, it basically needed, instead of increased by a flat 5%, Power Siphon now has Splash. That's what it fucking needed. That's the only way it bridges the gap between Power Siphon clear speed and KB clear speed. Like, what the shit? It's just weird. Rain of Arrows has had its base damage increased by a flat 10% at every level. I feel like it just needs more area than damage, but anyway, its quality bonus has been changed back to area effect radius, there it is, after being damaged throughout 2.0. The mana cost the mana cost has been reduced from 9 to 7 at level 1 and from 12 to 11 at level 20. Okay, that might make it viable. Depends on how good Blast Rain is, I suppose. Blast Rain might just be Rain of Arrows, but infinitely better since it's a new skill. They usually want to make those good. But that's good news for Rain of Arrows. And Ice Shot's radius has been increased by 9%. Fair enough. That's an okay change. Melee Splash now applies to a significantly larger area. Thank you. Finally, has no penalty on its primary hit. Thank you. It increases in radius as the gem levels up. Yeah, that's all extremely necessary. The last only real problem that I have with Melee Splash is its mana cost. Like 160% extra, I think it is. I don't know if I have one laying around to actually look at. I do. 160% mana multiplier makes skills fairly expensive and painful, but since mana cost on skills and mana's increasing and all that, I think it might make Melee Splash pretty damn good. Problem with it is you still have to like kind of hit an initial monster and then it splashes, and it's kind of dangerous, but it does make it a lot more viable than it currently is. So we'll have to play around with that one. Certain builds. Alright, passive skill tree changes. We already know basically everything there. Yeah, now we've gone over all of that. Bug fixes. We fixed a bug where some of the larger pets would follow your character too closely. Oof, that's a needed change. Is that even a thing? Fixed a bug where shift attack worked incorrectly with movement skills. Not bad. Nightmare Manifest, Malformation boss will move to the edge of the maps, making a beam unavoidable. Oh, that's nice. Malformation boss is much better that way now. When she moved to the edge, you were just like, well, game over. So yeah. Where Headhunter could cause proximity shields to last indefinitely. Alright, never really affected me. Malachi could be cold before his third heart was destroyed. Right-o. Some passive skills converted by the Fireball and Cold Steel did not work for unarmed fields. Indeed, Molten Shell could be applied multiple times via Spell Echo. Okay, that's a nerf, I suppose. Fixed issues with Malachi's Red Orb Projectile skill when used in maps with increased cast speed. See what that means. Some Tempest effects lasted longer on minions than on players. That's very noticeable, yes. And you had like Tempests that would buff bosses like a Duressa or some shit. It felt like it lasted 30 seconds or something. That's a good change, but I don't care about Tempest anyway. Shield Charge did not break breakables. There it is, guys. Shield Charge officially viable again. Because now you can break vases with it. Vases, whatever. Forget the fact that it's shit. You can now break vases. Viable. Fixed a variety of bugs where the Val Oversoul could get into states where he would not target close enemies. Huh. Yeah, that doesn't really change anything. Nope. Where you could not type numbers bigger than 9 in the currency unstack window. That's pretty nice. So you can actually do that now. Like, you know, 9. How do you type more than that though? 11? Do you just hit 11? There's gonna be a little box that says like you can type 11 or something. That would be pretty nice. Let's see what that means. Fix a bug where chaos degeneration damage could wrap around, changing large damage to very small damage. I have no idea what that means. Chests in the Hall of Grandmasters could cause a desync. Righto. Death's aura dealt too little damage to monsters and too much damage to players. Huh. Never even equipped that thing, so whatever. Fixed various problems where armor pieces visibly clipped on Templars. Does that make Templars less ugly? I hope so. Because MTX always looks terrible on Templars. 100% of the time. Vigorous footprints could appear on top of fog. Game breaking issue. Maramoa's audio related to Lost in Love quest. Alright, don't care. Text for the master option that removes crafting mods has been updated to reflect that it removes all master mods, not just one. Nice. I am personally planning on playing the hell out of Talisman over the Christmas period. Yeah? Who are you? Chris Wilson. Gonna play lots and lots of Talisman. I don't believe you. Thanks very much for your ongoing support, and check out some supporter packs. I'm still actually thinking about getting a supporter pack. I will probably cave and buy a 50, maybe even a 110. I don't think I can really splurge on a 110 or justify the splurge. Probably go for a 50 just so I can get 450 points and buy the Ghost Flame? Yeah, Ghost Flame armor set because it looks pretty sweet. And then have a gargoyle run around with my Kiwi as well. I think that'll be worthwhile for the 450 points. And then this thing just looks fucking ridiculous. But that was the patch notes. Thanks for staying tuned for that, guys, for my thoughts on those. Some good things there. As far as the actual changes go and all that, I reckon I'm most excited for Frostblades. As dumb as that sounds. Frostblades. That change is huge.